Hello my Brocklights. Today I bring you all the Jackhammer tech and features tier list. So, as it says in the name, I'm just going to be covering pretty much every Jackhammer tech and feature that I can think of. I've made all these cute little icons that sort of demonstrate exactly what they mean in a symbolic sort of way. And yeah, I've got all of these tiers and we're just going to put them on a tier list so that I can express generally how I feel about the state of all of these features, especially considering the latest balance patch towards hammers. For those who don't know me, hi. I am a top 30 Cybergrind player on the brutal difficulty, and my personal best is wave 164. I run triple jackhammer. It's my favorite weapon in the entire game. I have so many videos covering educational subjects surrounding the hammer. So yeah, definitely check those out if you're interested, and I'll put a bunch of links in the description going to all of the features that I'm going over in this tier list, so that you better understand exactly why I'm rating things as I do, and well, maybe you can learn something. So, from the bottom up, on the bluest tier, we have the redundant tier. These aspects of the hammer provide no additional substance to the weapon compared to other directly more efficient aspects. Then we have adequate tier. These aspects of the hammer give benefits but are seldom useful. Then we have the versatile tier. These aspects of the hammer can be used in a multitude of ways but lack power. Then there's the potent tier. These aspects of the hammer are strong and tend to excel above other options in the rest of the game. Then we have extraordinary tier. These aspects of the hammer provide unique or powerful advantages that go above what most weapons are efficiently capable. And then finally we have the unmatched tier. These aspects of the hammer are largely stronger than anything close to their caliber. So those are all of the tiers. Before I get into everything, if you guys would like to make your own tier list, I will be putting the link of this tier list. I'll make it public, and I'll put the link to it in the description of this video, so you can make one yourself. And one other thing before we get into the nitty gritty, consider subscribing, obviously. Like the video, share it with your friends, comment. Join the Discord. We have a Discord, and it's popping off right now. We've got close to 450 members right now. And yeah, we're taking everyone we can get. So if you like Ultrakill, come hop over. We play other games too, so you know. Additionally, you can become a member of the channel now. And becoming a member of the channel will give you a role in the Discord. It will let you use emotes in my streams, as well in the comments section. It'll highlight your name whenever you're commenting. And generally, if you just want to support me, that is definitely one of the best ways you can do that. There's also a Patreon now. And uniquely to the Patreon, well, you can give $5 to just get little tidbits and background knowledge behind when I'm making videos and stuff like that, and sort of maybe some IRL stuff every once in a while. You can also pay a 15 USD tier to get one-on-one coaching from me once a month. So if you want some one-on-one coaching, that's how you would do that. We would sort of call for an hour, stream some Ultrakill to each other, and I'll give you some direction on how to improve. And of course, with your permission, I might record it, and I will put a little summary of it on YouTube. Becoming a member of the Patreon or YouTube, I will put your name at the end of the video, and at the end of this video, I will put all the names of those who've already become YouTube or Patreon members. So thank you to those people very, very much. I appreciate you. Anyway, let's get on with the tier list. Starting off, we are going to rate green hits. So green hits or green gauge hits, this is one of the main functions of the hammer, where basically you can hit one of three colors, right? I have the three colors right here, green, yellow, or red, and the green hit yields the least damage with the least knockback and no hit stop, making it easily redundant. Yeah, green hits, you never want to be hitting them. It's basically like hitting something with a shotgun, but slower. Knocks you back sort of like a frustrating amount, not so much that you can actually get movement, but so much that you just don't move forward. It's really annoying. There's no real good reason to get a green hit unless it's a complete accident. But hey, I mean, there's one tiny little niche use for green hits, and that is that it won't contribute to yellow hit spam, which is okay, I guess. But honestly, if you want to get more damage from anything while not contributing to yellow hit spam, just use any other weapon. It's not worth it to land a green hit. And on top of that, there really is no like tech associated with using green hits in the first place. So it altogether just falls short as like the most useless function of the weapon. Next up, we have yellow hits, and what a flip, right? Who saw this one coming? This one is definitely going in extraordinary tier. It's a very accessible form of high damage, so 6 damage is double a shotgun shot, because 2 shotgun shots takes 0.9 seconds, which is how long it takes to get your first yellow hit. So generally it is performing on par, if not better, due to the fact that you have, number one, a really long melee range for this. Number two, you actually get backblasted. We're going to talk about backblasts in specific later, but you actually get knocked back away from the enemy, and you can choose which direction you get knocked back from. And a lot of tech relies on using yellow hits in order to use the secondary fires of the weapon in unique or interesting ways. So the yellow hits sort of turn out to be the best way to enable a lot of your hammer tech. Now, it would have gone in unmatched tier if not for the fact that yellow hit spam was nerfed. So you do have to be really smart with how you use the yellow hits. Even if you mix in a yellow hit with your combos, you can still get punished, which is stupid, right? That's bound to get changed. But expecting that to get changed, this would definitely stay in extraordinary tier. Next up, we have red hits, and I'm actually, this might be, you know, controversial, I'm putting red hits in the potent tier. Red hits, they haven't gotten better, per se, but specifically with people who like to use triple hammer, red hits have become a lot more necessary in the cycle of using weapons. And that has sort of forced players to avoid spamming yellow hits, right? So that is locking themselves in specific combos. And instead, they're encouraged to use red hits to get not only 10 damage, and you want to get that 10 damage on something where it matters, right? But also using red hits to space out your yellow hits so that you can theoretically, using like the pump charge jackhammer, for example, if you invest time into using an overpump, you can use an overpump on a red hit in between other hammer hits so that your other hammers by that time will have already reset to a point where you can use them again without being punished by the 3-hit limiter. Overall, the hammer is still worse as a result, and that doesn't mean that red hits are better. It just means that since the 7-second cooldown from using a hammer repeatedly is now baked into the weapon, red hits now become a lot more incentivized as a result. There's many reasons why it's not an extraordinary tier, because 10 damage is good, you can one-shot a Virtue with that, and then Radiant enemies, it meets a lot of breakpoints with Radiant enemies, like Radiant Sentries and Radiant Virtues. And most importantly, there are very few options in the game that can actually give you 10 damage quite like this weapon. Obviously it's a cooldown, so it's a bit balanced in that way, but 10 damage is 10 damage, you know what I mean? And if you don't intend to use a hammer for 7 seconds, you might as well land a red hit. Next up, we have hammer swapping, which is a function of the weapon, where the first hit with a hammer, if you swap off of any other weapon, the first hit with a hammer will take 0.9 seconds to actually fully charge and hit, right? But every subsequent hammer hit after the first one will instead be 0.5, right? So that's half a second, which means that you can get, theoretically, 2 hammer hits in 1 second, right? As opposed to 1 hammer hit over the course of 1 second. Now, this is also extraordinary tier. No other weapon really functions this way, and in fact, only other weapons that have a similar feature where their attack speed, it changes depending on how many other of the same weapon you're using, like rockets, for example. Rocket launchers actually are hindered by that fact, right? So it's incredibly unique and strong that the hammer can actually benefit from using itself back to back. Now, again, this isn't in unmatched either because of the yellow hit nerf, but regardless, pumping out 6 damage twice in 1 second, 12 damage, is pretty good. It's really hard to do, right? Without the assistance of other tools, in which case you might also slow down your hammer pace, but hey, even if you're landing hits every 0.6 or 0.7 seconds, it's still really good value. So yeah, hammer swapping definitely belongs in extraordinary tier. Next up, we have backblasts, and backblasts themselves, just raw, definitely versatile. There are a lot of situations where you want to proactively use the hammer against enemies that have melee hits, for example, to try to backblast away from their melee hit and avoid dangerous interactions altogether. So that makes Backblast really strong. And now there's 2 other sort of subdivisions of Backblasts that I've actually put in here. That being Backblast Turns, which are, I'll just say it now, Backblast Turns, easily unmatched. Being able to turn during the hit stop of a hammer hit so that your Backblast is aimed in a different direction is incredibly powerful. It is one of the best movement tools in the game, easily. It's pretty much good on every single front of this game. It's amazing in the campaign, speedrunning, the cyber grind, right? Modded levels, it's amazing. There's no scenario where this isn't going to be good. That is, if you're understanding how you're supposed to use it correctly. There are a lot of incorrect ways to do a backblast turn, like backblasting into the direction of a bunch of enemies, right? And that's sort of where it can help to use a Backblast Lock. And Backblast Locks, they're not really that special. They're really cool to do, and they can be kind of useful. For those who don't know, a Backblast Lock, which I cover in my previous video, is basically where you swap off of the hammer during the hit stop so that the direction you're backblasting is actually locked in place, right? So if I hit an enemy and then I swap off the hammer, it'll force me to backblast opposite of where I was facing when I first hit that enemy. So I can turn in any other direction during that time, throw some magnets, throw a whiplash, you know, do a parry with the feedbacker during that same hit stop without changing the direction I'm actually backblasting into. This is not mandatory in any way, but it sometimes can be useful to gain knowledge, like turning around to see a gutter tank behind you when you're backblasting towards it to know, okay, maybe I should dash out of the way and not suffer the chance of getting punched by this gutter tank or something. You know what I mean? Can be useful. Anyway, next up we have double slams. Now, double slams are good. However, using slams with the hammer requires a specific way of playing with it. To be within the slamming range of an enemy sort of negates the whole bonus of having that extra range, that melee range that the hammer gives you, which is longer than the feedbacker, longer than the knuckle blaster, and really lets you manipulate space so that you can use the hammer efficiently. Now, double slams, they sort of require you to get really close to a point where you sort of have to make a quick input of like 3 to 4 buttons in order to do a double slam. But it will give you 2 or 4 damage in return, which is, you know, a lot of damage, and that can make some really nice one-shots. Like, for instance, with an overpump, a double slam, and a knuckle blaster, you can one-shot an entire gutter tank or a Cerberus. That's really strong. That's really nice, you know what I mean? But in no way is something like that mandatory when you can just, for instance, do like 2 yellow hits on either of those enemies. It can be nice, right? Since you can do double slams in hit stop, you can sort of reactively slam during hit stop to know, hey, I'm actually getting 2 extra damage on this hammer hit. And that can obviously be nice, especially if you do a whip slam by slamming during a whiplash pull so that you do a slam initially. So consistently you can get this double slam effect. Isn't always useful, but it can be nice nonetheless. Now, moving on, we have Hammer Boosts, which is simply hitting a core with your hammer, right? That converts it into a total of a 7 damage hit scan attack. Really what it's dealing is it's doing a 2 damage hit scan, so anything that the explosion impacts directly is dealt 2 damage, and then it has a 5 damage explosion around it, so that's totaling up to 7 damage, right? I don't need to explain to you why that's really good. With an initial swap time of 0.9 seconds, you're easily getting 7 damage, which is mostly comparable to a core snipe, right? That you can do at any range. It's a hit scan, so you can do it from anywhere in your line of sight. And another bonus is that if you're swapping to the core eject jackhammer from another hammer, though it takes 0.2 seconds to toss the core out so you can hit it, that basically adds up to 0.7 seconds of a swap time for a hammer boost that is still faster than a core snipe. So in a lot of ways, it's really, really strong. Now, because it's a hit scan, it births the ability to use coin tech, and unfortunately, it's just coin tech with the hammer is just really useless. It only adds 0.5 damage to the actual main hit scan attack, so the 2 damage, which means that you're dealing 7.5 damage by spending a coin, and that's just not good. Adding 0.5 damage to an attack with a coin is basically losing out on, like, how much would that be? 16 times the value that you could actually get if you just hit it with a regular default marksman shot. 2 hits of 4, assuming the enemies have heads, which is 8 damage. Comparing that to 0.5 damage added for an attack, there's no point in investing a coin for that. So it's definitely very redundant. Can it be cool? Yeah, it can be cool to do. Is it ever useful over just using it raw? Pretty much never. Next up, we have core nukes, or Hitstop Nukes, with the core eject jackhammer. Now, a lot of people would say that doing a nuke with the core eject jackhammer is kind of weak compared to doing it with the shotgun, and more people than not are warming up to the fact that it might be better to do it with the core eject jackhammer. And that's due to the fact that you will always have to toss the core on your exact location, right? So if you intend to do a nuke, you will need to nuke on top of yourself, right? As opposed to, you know, launching the core a distance and then nuking the core. But in a lot of ways, nuking on top of yourself, most people will call it insta-nuking, right? Which is just tossing the core and frame 1 swapping to the malicious rail cannon, shooting the core, getting the nuke, right? A big problem with cores is that they bounce due to explosions or they detonate when an enemy touches them. So if you're in the heat of combat, a lot of times your core can end up being knocked around by an enemy or an explosion, and you can actually miss your nuke really easily if you're aiming for a ranged nuke. But if you're nuking on top of yourself, you can frame one, get that nuke, and that basically negates all of the negatives of having it get tossed around because it can happen frame one, right? That leaves very little opportunity for enemies to actually hit the core. And as well, special for the hammer, if you want to get your 6 or 10 damage using a green or a red hit, you can actually hit an enemy, and then during the hit stop of that hit, toss out the core, and then shoot the core with a malicious rail cannon for an absolutely guaranteed nuke, which is the only thing better than frame 1 nuke. With this, you can kill a lot of fodder, deflect a lot of projectiles, and one-shot a gutter tank with this kind of combo if you do a red hit. Really, really strong stuff. The only problem that I have with this and why it's in versatile instead of potent or extraordinary is because I think that the other rail cannons tend to be better in a lot more scenarios. Malicious rail cannon definitely has its times to shine, don't get me wrong, but it still leaves it in versatile tier where you can use it anytime you want. However, the other rail cannons in their specific niches can get you better results. Now, next up we have core jams. And core jams are really fun to do. Lots of people say that like core jams will be their favorite tech if they were to name whatever one that might be using hammers. Basically just hitting a core and an enemy back to back. So, you know, you're basically getting 6 or 10 damage with the melee hit and also getting the 7 damage from the hammer boost. This can give you 13 or 17 damage combos. It does take a little bit of time to set up, and it gives you 0.2 seconds of time where the core is vulnerable to being intercepted by things like attacks, hit scans, or enemy bodies, so you have to be careful with how you place it, but altogether, it's still really strong. It does sort of void the benefit of having a hit scan where you can use it from a really long range, but being able to get extra damage in a melee hit with a slight risk is really good. It's basically double the damage with an explosion. It's nice. It's really, really good. Really, really good. Next up, we have Deathstars. Deathstars are absolutely a fan favorite, and that's why it kind of kills me to put it in potent. I was actually thinking about putting it in versatile when I was first creating this list, but I think that it definitely deserves to be in potent. The problem with Deathstars is that number one, they require a lot of space and a lot of time to set up, right? But they can easily be used in a lot of situations in the cyber grind, where you are rising to the top of the arena with a rocket and spending a couple extra rockets while the wave's transitioning. You know, it's moving, it's clearing all the enemies out, recycling cooldowns, and then it starts spawning in enemies. So that gives you a good 4 seconds to actually set up a Death Star. You can easily get several large damage explosions back to back. You can kill multiple Virtues and Radchus, Providences, Sentries this way. Very, very useful. However, it can be easily countered by something as small as an idol, right? Idols will idle those Virtues, those Insurrectionists, those Reapers, those Mind Flayers, all these enemies that you want to target with a Death Star can be covered by something as small as that. And then also, if you set up a Death Star, you might just get a whole wave with no actual enemies that you want to really target. But obviously, when a Death Star shines, it absolutely shines, so it belongs in potent. There are very few techs that come close to actually getting what it gives. As well, you can actually manipulate things like the wave transition, how it recycles all your cooldowns, by whiplashing an enemy off the stage and starting a Death Star, so that when the enemy actually falls off of the stage, and it happens to be the last enemy, it'll recycle all of your cooldowns and give you more rockets to add to your Death Star. There's actually a clip that I have going around. It's a totally viral Ultrakill clip of me getting like 8 or 9 rockets and killing like 5 Providences in a single combo. It was crazy. So yeah, good no matter which way you spin it, just has weaknesses that are, you know, pretty clear. Now, next up, we have a hotly debated subject among the community of whether or not this is OP, and this is double hammer boosts. Now, double hammer boosts have pretty much only one weakness, and that is that they require space to perform, like a lot of space, because you need to be riding a rocket, and rockets are sort of hard to steer unless you have a large open space. But the returns for that is a roughly 1.2 second combo for about 14 damage. And look, no matter which way you spin that, that's really good. In that same amount of time, you can swap to the pump charge shotgun and still not even arrive to the second pump. You're getting more damage in less time than if you were using the pump charge shotgun with this combo, and you can do it from anywhere, not just a melee range. So it's really, really, really good, especially since it's 2 hit scans. You can basically do it from anywhere in the arena to anywhere in the arena. You're setting husks on fire, getting bonus damage on those husks from the hit scans. It's just all around a really strong tech that has a very negligible weakness when you use it in the scenarios that you would obviously have the space to use it. Now, you might be noticing a trend now because we still have another core eject tech to go through. And though the icon itself isn't really clear as to what it is, these are RTC nukes. Now, it's really hard to tell where an RTC nuke belongs because you're getting a free nuke. And you're getting a free nuke in the same time that you would get a double hammer boost, right? So that's 1.2 seconds, sort of minimum-ish. And the big thing about using RTC nukes is that they require really good positioning to get effective use. However, with all of the new methods that have come out with how to perform these kinds of nukes, I do have to say that it is definitely extraordinary tier. Literally, one of the ways that you can start an RTC nuke is just by doing a double hammer boost and swapping off of the hammer after you've tossed the core during the hit stop. That's it. That's all you have to do, right? And you can easily get a 12 damage large explosion that deflects projectiles, sets husks on fire, and gives you all this damage if you're within proximity to other enemies. If you just rocket ride over top of a sentry, you can one-shot it that way. Without using, any crazy yellow hit combo, without adding to the yellow hit limiter, and also getting huge collateral damage to anything within that vicinity. Now, the explosion radius isn't as big as a nuke, and there is a lot of fall off, so I won't say that it's the best thing out there, but it's definitely really good and it shines when it shines, so it is definitely extraordinary. And hey, look, literally like almost no other weapons can get really fast nukes like that, so of course it's extraordinary, right? But there is one other kind of RTC nuke. This one is like the true Jackhammer variation, but there is the core eject shotgun variation. Which is not nearly as good. It's more like somewhere around here, I would say. This involves shooting out a core while riding a rocket and then swapping to a hammer and hitting that core. That extends the time by roughly like 0.5 seconds. So you're getting nukes in 1.7 seconds-ish. A lot of things can go wrong in 1.9 seconds when it comes to cores. Gutterman can shoot it, Maurice's can shoot it, which should be kind of nice, because, it's a free nuke at that point, but you don't get to choose its positioning as easily. Enemies can dash or teleport on top of it. The core can get knocked away by an explosion, like I've said before. It's just very finicky stuff. And while you can still basically get nukes this way, with a rocket hitting a core, it's just not good. Nukes are nukes, so it's an adequate tier, but really, if you're wanting to do RTC nukes, you should be doing it with the core eject jackhammer instead. Then finally, funny because it's sad to see these two next to each other, these are CTR nukes, which is the reverse of RTC nukes. CTR nukes, so for those who don't know, RTC stands for rocket to core, right? So a rocket to core nuke. By transforming a rocket into a hit scan and hitting a core, you get that nuke. Now, what happens when you transform a core into a hit scan and hit a rocket? Well, you get a smaller, less damaging nuke. I think it's like 10 damage in a really small radius. It's not as good, not even close, but hey, they're there. They can do good damage, and if you happen to have a frozen rocket or set something up that way, you can just shoot with a core, and it gives some damage, assuming that nothing hits that rocket during that time. Still somewhat as vulnerable as a core from the core eject shotgun. But hey, at least it's not useless. Now, finally, we're moving off of the core eject jackhammer, and we're actually going to move on to one of the other jackhammers. Starting off with the pump charge, my favorite jackhammer. We're going to begin with one pumps. Now, one pumps are really good. It's basically every time you do a hit with a pump charge jackhammer, you're always going to be able to add 3.5 damage to it, because this first pump does 3.5 damage. Unlike the pump charge shotgun, which the first pump adds only 1.5 damage, it's absolutely crazy, right? And fortunately, with Hitstop Pumps, which we'll cover later, you can get this for free, so it's literally no investment. And this also is a really nice proctor for very quick pump caches, which we'll also cover later. So it's just really like the building block base that incorporates all of its other tech and features in a really nice way. Using this and punching during hit stop with a yellow hit, you can spam 10 damage really quickly. Now, while it is an explosion, the radius is really small. Like, a Cerberus can literally be standing next to another Cerberus from like 3 feet away and it still won't hit them. You're really mainly using this for single target, so, don't think that because it's an explosion, it's like crazy value. 3.5 damage alone is crazy value. Now, moving on to something really depressing. Literally the next pump, double pumps, redundant, completely redundant. There's literally no point in doing it. It doesn't add any damage as opposed to a one pump. So you're basically investing half a second for nothing. The only benefit it does give is that it increases the radius of the explosion, which in really niche scenarios, it can block more projectiles, I guess, even though the explosion doesn't last long. And then it can also do 3.5 damage to enemies next to other enemies. But like, why would you want to do that? This is the single target weapon, you know what I mean? And if you want crowd control from the single target weapon, it needs to actually be meaningful, right? And that's where the overpump comes in, because overpumps, holy moly, I do think that overpumps are better than RTC nukes, unfortunately. I think that they're just more widely applicable, and basically you can get 13 damage with every single yellow hit if you overpump. And add a knuckle blaster that's 15 damage, you know what I mean? Easy 15 damage, very little commitment. No cooldowns either, it's just time. That's the only thing you're investing is time. And unlike the pump charge shotgun, you don't have to dash out of the explosion. If you're far enough away from the enemy, you can literally exploit the hammer range and hit the enemy and backblast in time away, like to avoid all of the explosion damage. It's actually really good crowd control. You can hit enemies that are somewhat close to each other and deal 7 to 5 point something damage. It's really good. The only weakness with it, of course, is the fact that while it takes 2 seconds to overpump, if you were to spam overpumps, you would actually still run into the 3-hit limiter problem, which is fine, you know what I mean? But hey, overpumps are overpumps. 13 damage, you can get even 17 damage with a red hit. Really, really good. Now we're gonna move on to the juicy tech aspects of this weapon. First of all, Hitstop Pumps. Insane. Absolutely insane tech. Hitstop Pumps basically give you a free pump every time you use this weapon. For those who don't know, whenever you enter the hit stop with this weapon, so that's when the game completely freezes after doing a hit, you can right click during that hit stop to add a pump to the pump charge jackhammer, and it transforms whatever pump, however many pumps you had into that hammer, it transforms it into the next pump. So using this, if you were to double pump and then hit an enemy, like why would you want to double pump? Obviously, you can hit stop pump to do an overpump for free. And basically what that means is that you can actually overpump faster than the pump charge shotgun. Because the pump charge shotgun takes 1.65 seconds to overpump. But the pump charge jackhammer would take 2 seconds without hit stop pumps. With a hit stop pump, it takes 1.5. So it's actually faster. More single target damage. I think a wider radius as well. It's a red explosion, it hits soldiers, so that's obviously cool. But yeah, hit stop pumps are easily just like the complete backbone. As well, with hit stop pumps, you can just get a free one pump, so add 3.5 damage to every single hit you do with the pump charge jackhammer. Obviously that's really good, you don't even need to explain to you why. And yeah, hit stop pumps also make this next tech for the weapon, pump caches, really, really good as well. So pump caches, I would say they're actually better than Deathstars. They're very consistent, very reactive, very proactive. You just have a lot of ability to use it in a lot more scenarios. Now, is it the most compelling tech? Not really, no. But pump caches do actually let you do specific combos in a shorter amount of time, and they let you manipulate the extra downtime that you might have with this weapon while you're pumping, so that you can actually get faster pumps and faster hits next time. So with pump caches, all you're doing is, instead of doing a hit stop pump, you're pumping immediately after a hammer hit. So if I were to do an attack, so if I were to do a yellow hit and a one pump, right? So that's 9.5 damage. I can instantly pump after the hit stop ends to basically give myself, so that's one pump for 0.5 seconds. I can pump a second time for 0.5 seconds again. And then if I attack, I can add a hit stop pump and basically give myself a 1 second overpump. That's crazy. So in the time that someone who doesn't hit stop pump or pump cache gets an overpump, so 2 seconds, you can sooner than that get 9.5 damage and an overpump. You're getting a free hammer hit on top of that by using hit stop pumps and pump caches together. It's absolutely insane. And you can do this the same with overpumps as well. You can chain 2 overpumps into each other. If you, let's say you're going from underneath the Cybergrind stage, trying to avoid line of sight from sentries, and you're trying to let your hard damage come down and cycle your cooldowns, you can come from the side of the stage with a full overpump, right? So 3 pumps, and then hit an enemy, and then after that, you can do 2 more pumps, And after that hit, you can instantly pump, get another pump for 0.5 seconds, and then follow it up with a hit for another overpump. 2 overpumps back to back, 1 second across from each other is insane value. Absolutely insane. And again, anytime that you're just like finding yourself trying to, say, target like an insurrectionist that's like on the other side of the map, and you have the extra time to triple pump instead of double pump, and you know, go for a hit stop overpump, you can just transfer that third pump into an extra pump for the next hit. I'm saying pump a lot, and the word is starting to have less and less meaning as I say it, but I love pump caches, probably my favorite tech out there. But yeah, really, really good stuff, and it adds a lot of depth to the pump charge jackhammer. Now, the next hammer we're covering is the sawed-on jackhammer, and the sawed-on jackhammer doesn't really have much tech to begin with. There aren't really many unique interactions between the hammer and the chainsaw itself, but there are some really cool combos you can do, and that's sort of what I'm mainly featuring here with these next 4. So to start off, we have just regular chainsaw bunting. Versatile, definitely versatile. I mean, being able to first of all land a hit and then add a chainsaw to that combo is really nice, 4.5 extra damage, and then coming back and can do more. It can pierce, do more damage to other enemies. It's really good. It's hard to control the chainsaw, but hey, it's good. The nice thing about chainsaw bunting, though, is that it encourages you to land red hits, because if you were to continuously bunt the chainsaw, that extends the cooldown. So the cooldown is originally 4 seconds, but it can extend it all the way up to 8 seconds for however long you're bunting the chainsaw. Whenever you stop bunting the chainsaw, the cooldown happens faster. So with this in mind, you can reliably land red hits, bunt the chainsaw a little bit, and by the time you come back to the sawed-on jackhammer, you'll have both your chainsaw and your hammer come back on cooldown together, which is really nice, because you're not really going to be using the sawed-on jackhammer for its yellow hits, like mostly at all, because while your chainsaw isn't active, you'd rather be using the other 2 jackhammers for yellow hits almost all the time, unless this is your sole jackhammer, right? If you're running the other 2 shotguns with this as your jackhammer, that's fair, right? Yellow hits will still be good regardless for backblast, right? Backblast turning is in the top of the tier list for a reason. But yeah, that leads us into chainsaw detaches, right? Basically just right next to it. I would say a little bit lower. A lot of people would probably say right now that it's better, because as it currently stands, I'm pretty sure like guaranteed to be a bug. I haven't checked to see if the devs have said anything, but basically what you can do right now is you can detach a chainsaw and then punch it with the feedbacker. This is all normal stuff. This is intended mechanics so far from what I'm explaining. And saws, all saws, not just the chainsaw, all saws that you punch deal double damage until they hit a surface or come in contact with a magnet, right? So a detached chainsaw does 6 damage, and if you were to punch it, that would up it to 12. And since it pierces technically twice, the 6 damage turns into 12 damage since it's hitting twice, and 12 damage turns into 24 damage, right? From the 12 damage hitting twice. Now, normally what's supposed to happen is that when you detach and punch a chainsaw, it's supposed to pierce through an enemy and hit whatever enemy's behind it, right? And during that time, the chainsaw can hit a wall or something, and it can lose that double damage benefit on the second pierce. But currently, a lot of large enemies will instead absorb both pierces for some reason, causing something like, you know, you can do this detach on an insurrectionist and you'll deal 24 damage to it, and if it's burning, 36 damage to it, right? Crazy damage numbers. I think that's a bug, so I'm gonna rate this here with that in mind, because I don't think that's intended. It didn't work that way before, and it started working that way in Fraud. There were no patch notes to suggest that this would work this way now, so unfortunately it is worse than chainsaw bunting, in my opinion. I will say, just in case, like they come around, they're like, oh, this is kind of cool, I guess we'll let you guys do this and we won't revert this. I would say that this tech would be potent, definitely potent. But yeah, as it is now, I'm gonna leave it in versatile. Something that is potent, however, is chainsaw rebounds. So with chainsaw rebounds, this is probably one of the most precise and difficult techs to do. When I was getting the B-roll footage for this, it took me quite a few attempts to get it, because I typically don't do this. I need to do it more often because it's just free damage if you do it correctly. But since you can charge the hammer and the chainsaw at different intervals, if you charge the chainsaw and push it forward onto an enemy to deal 4.5 damage, by the time you arrive with the hammer, you can bunt it again to get an additional 4.5 damage as well on top of the hammer hit. And then if it comes back, you're basically getting triple chainsaw pierce instead of double chainsaw pierce using this. So in doing this, you're rebounding the chainsaw to hit twice on the initial impact. And that's up to enough damage with a red hit to one-shot a gutter tank. Really good. Obviously really good. There is one weakness though to it, and that is the fact that you need to be spaced a decent amount away from your enemy. Unless they're a really large enemy like a gutter tank, you need to be spaced far away. Otherwise, if you bunt the chainsaw, it can sometimes bunt past the enemy instead of bunting into it. So yeah, that's a small consideration to make. Otherwise, it's really good. It's free damage, really good heals. Yeah, nothing to complain about. And next up, we have a very little known tech. It's not exactly tech per se, but it utilizes a lot of the mechanics that this weapon has and gives you a really nice output. And I called this something else in my video, but I think it would be more succinct to call it an RCD Hammer Boost. And that is a Rocket Chainsaw Detach Hammer Boost. These aren't particularly insane, but in my original making of this tier list, I put it somewhere here in Versatile. However, I think that it does belong in Potent. I would say maybe below Rebounds. Yes, definitely below Rebounds. Basically what you're doing is you're setting up a double hammer boost, but instead with the sawed-on jackhammer. And what you're doing is you're detaching the chainsaw with the knuckle blaster during the hit stop of hitting your rocket. So you're basically getting a double hammer boost, but you're replacing one of the hit scans with the detached chainsaw. And that can be really good. That can be more damage than what you're doing with a double hammer boost if you're doing something single target. Obviously the target has to be somewhat close because the chainsaw is a projectile, not a hit scan. But what you can also do is you can swap to your attractor during the hit stop. And because magnets can come out frame 1, you can swap to the attractor during the hit stop and release one magnet during that same hit stop, so that the detached chainsaw will swirl around the magnet until the magnet collides with an enemy or hits the floor, and then it stays there as a trap. So you can actually use this on an insurrectionist for like a free, I think 25 damage plus. It's really good, really good stuff. And a really nice thing about it too, since double hammer boosts, since the core has a 2-second cooldown, you can't do 2 double hammer boosts back to back really easily unless you wait the extra 0.8 seconds after the 1.2 setup. So what you can instead do is do a double hammer boost and then start another rocket ride into a RCD hammer boost, right? So you detach the chainsaw instead using that cooldown, and then by the time you've done that, you can swap over to the double hammer boost, right? So you're getting double hammer boost, RCD hammer boost, and then another double hammer boost for basically all within a window of 3.6 seconds minimum. Somewhere close to more realistically around 4 seconds, but that's still crazy. 3.6 seconds for 14 plus 14 plus 19 damage. That adds up to 47 damage from across the map. And that's insane. That's obviously insane. So on its own, it's definitely in potent tier, but I would say when comboed with double hammer boosts, intermittently, it can be really good. All right, now that was my tier list. Like I said, I'm going to be putting a lot of these techs in the description. If you're new to the channel, you should definitely go watch a lot of these videos I put out. I've covered pretty much all of these techs and features in my videos already. And if you want to make a tier list yourself, I will put this in the link in the description so that you can do that. Join the Discord, maybe share the tier list there when you're done. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you like the custom icons, let me know, because these are really cool, and I'd be happy to share some of these with you guys if you want to use these as reference icons when bringing up this specific tech in your own videos or media or something like that. And thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for sharing. And thank you to my patrons and my YouTube members for supporting me. Like I said, becoming a member, you will have access to specific videos that I might have of me testing tech or something like that, or you will be able to have emotes in my streams or my comment section. And you will have an icon that features you as a member when you are in these subsections. As well, you will get a role in the Discord. If you want to become a patron, you can get free other tech videos, stuff like that, as well on the Patreon. And some IRL stuff as well. I might post pictures of my dog or, just me doing random things. Who knows? And like I said as well, if you pay $15 on the Patreon instead, you can get one-on-one Ultrakill coaching from me that we can schedule once a month for as long as you are supporting me that way. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate that. Here's all of the current members and patrons right now. If you want to be featured at the end of all of my videos, all you have to do is join either one. Yeah, and you'll be seen right there. Anyway, I will see you all later. I will see you all next Tuesday. Goodbye.